Welcome to the REL10F week recap. I'm Cass Blue, and I'm with
NinjaPirateAssassin, allegedly.
Okay, so I haven't been around for a while because I've been sick and I've been dealing with renovations, and you know what? I've just had a very busy month. But I'm here now. And all of those things are still true, but we're not going to get into them. We're going to look at games instead. Starting with the Thompsons versus Primal Concrete Sludge.
Solid 1-1 game for the Thompsons, who have had a bit of a rough start to the season. I think they went something like 1-0-6 in the round robin. Managed to pull off a 1-1 tie against a very solid Chaos team.
Yeah, they did at that. And let's see, this was, I guess probably they were similarly ranked coaches matched against each other. That is how this round robin round works, right?
No, I'm pretty sure it's full random, and then the only thing it checks for round over round is record and whether or not you played the other coach or not, because it won't double up.
Huh.
Because cyanide. So, my expectation is when I hit the button, it's going to be full random, and the only thing I will guarantee is that the person you played last week is not who you play next. Incesticide says the humans had a great last turn. It is a Swiss, so it'll be winners versus winners, but I don't know how it's going to handle ties and who it's going to bump up and who it's going to bump down.
I see.
So it'll be fun. We'll get to see as soon as I hit the button when we make it to that point.
Yep, I guess that will be fun to see. But yeah, you're right. This was a mid to high ranked team. Again, well, 5th place versus 7th place. So, okay, look, I'll be honest. I don't remember the state that any of the teams were in, but I feel like this was probably a good result for the humans. Not ideal, of course. They didn't get the win, but
this was the Chaos team that had 6 or 7 block by this point already, and so this is the developed Chaos team. So I do feel like this was probably in Chaos's favor coming in, and just based off of the chat, it looks like the humans managed to pull off something at the end of the game, probably to force the tie as opposed to a loss, maybe.
0.264%. I'm guessing actually it's just says 2.264. I don't know if that's 26% or 0.26%.
I assume 26% because I have no idea how many dice you would need to roll to get into a fraction of a percent.
On 6-sided dice? Yeah, quite a few.
It's like even my crazy plays as rats that are 8 or 9 dice strings is still like 5% or something when you look at it.
To be fair though, that's with a lot of 2 pluses.
Sometimes. He says 0.2% fractional, so might be something worth checking out.
Well, the next match is the Thunder's Puffins versus Big Ma's Blitzers. It was won by this is Dark Elves? No, High Elves.
High Elves.
Versus...
this was, I believe, a straight rematch from the previous week, as I remember. Yeah, it looks like you muted yourself there, but yeah, 3-1 because presumably Agi5 doing Agi5 things. Hilariously, the Dirty Player Skink pulls the MVP, so he's only a touchdown away from...
I mean...
If he levels, I think you give him Sneaky Get, because it's the only type of player that I would ever give Sneaky Get.
Sneaky Get is still a bad skill, but I completely agree.
It's a bad skill, but it's a normal for him, and at this point, you use the double on Dirty Player. You might as well use the normal on Sneaky Get. There's nothing else you're going to give that player that he wants.
Sneaky Get is still a bad skill, but I completely agree.
Oh, apparently Agi5 Elf got fouled out like turn 3.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what?
Was it the Dirty Player Skink?
He deserved it.
Because it was the Dirty Player Skink, totally worth.
Completely worth.
Almost exact number of blocks, 32 to 31.
You know, this Agi5 elf has leap as well. This is a gross elf. He deserved to be fouled. Yay, the skink earned the MVP. But unfortunately did not win the game with it. Okay, let's look at the next game. That would be Meat Squad versus the Exqueakables, which was a 1-1 draw.
Probably a result you're going to take when you eat 24 armor breaks as rats against anybody.
There's actually surprisingly few removals, considering, but they did still suffer 4 injuries.
Yeah, well, these Squeakables also have an extra KO and casualties sustained, so they removed a couple of themselves or were surfed, I think is the only other option.
Well, that does happen with rats, doesn't it?
3+ dodges tend to fail when you want them to succeed, and when they fail, line rats tend to die.
Yep, only 7 armor and 3+ dodges, you're eventually gonna hit the ground, and it will eventually hit you back.
But yeah, with 2 movement, 10 gutters, 1-1 ties, pretty solid result for the Chorfs there.
Do you recall how these players fared in the first time they went against each other?
I do not remember most of the previous matchups, no.
Because I'm just thinking, this one in particular stands out to me as it would be interesting to see if the result is different.
Yeah, on a guess, I'd say the Rats probably won the early matchup. Looks like chat says the Rats won 1-0. As this Chorf team was really beat up, missing players, lacking skills early. And I believe they're now a full Chorf team with some level ups now, so. But, I mean, Chorfs on Rats is already a hard matchup for Rats, especially if you don't have Claw. And if the Hobgoblins have Armor 7 Unbreakable, which can happen.
Okay. We're certain that it was a 1-0 game, but we're not 100% sure who won it the first time around. It doesn't matter, though. That was not now. Next, we have Wrath of Nuffle, which is versus their... Okay, I don't recognize either of these names. Are these both new teams?
Background that I forgot to tell you is that Cyanide doesn't allow fewer than 10 teams in any competition or in a Swiss competition. So we pulled some ramp-ups to make 10 teams.
That is incredibly stupid. But hey, we get ramp-up in here.
Yeah, rather than do what Big O did, which was split it into like 2 or 3 round robins, and then they're going to end up with like 6 comps at the end of the day, and I decided I was way too lazy to deal with that. I just added 2 teams and then 1 comp, and we're good. So these are new teams. We went over them last week. Chaos is... I mean, it's early Chaos. They only have 3 or 4 games played at this point, I think, but they've got 3 or 4 blocks, so a decent start. And this was also actually a straight rematch of what they played the week before, because these teams played in ramp-up last week.
Of course they did, because why wouldn't they have?
That game, I believe, was 2-0 to the Chaos, so the Chaos has won both of them. But that's not terribly... unexpected, because this is basically a rookie dwarf team. I think they had 1 guard, and that was but yeah, 54 to 50 blocks, 2 removals on each side. Not much going. Chaos managed to score. Dwarves didn't manage to score, probably just got bogged down and couldn't. And you're muted again if that's not on purpose. Alright, yeah, this is the dwarf team that has guard as the first level up on a Troll Slayer, which we discussed last week at length. Looks like Longbeard leveled up from the MVP, which I expect will also be guard, which is the appropriate level to take on a Longbeard as its first level up. And I'm assuming at this point that mute is on purpose, and then Chaos got stopped by somebody or something going on at his place. Looks like Chaos said that Dwarves made some elf-like dodges on turn 8 to prevent him from scoring on defense and making it a 2-0. Unsure. He went on mute, so I assume somebody actually walked up to him and needed him for something, which is a thing he has threatened might happen periodically in the past. Either that or he died. Fortunately, he's running the stream, so I can't really move on to the next topic until he wakes up. But we'll see what happens here. Well, I suppose I can talk. There's only one game left. I can talk about it. I actually watched this. So this was Wraith Reavers, who are the other ramp-up coach, pulled Hellas Kitchen, the 1600 TV Norse. So it was 1600 TV Norse versus 1050 Necro or something like that. Ended up 1-0 to the Norse, so expected victory on the Norse there. And I actually thought the Necro coach played pretty well, all things considered. A couple of mistakes, mostly why you don't blitz with chainsaws and why you don't blitz as first actions with chainsaws. Because he rolled a lot of ones on kickbacks, 2 or 3, I think, during the game. And then didn't manage a whole lot of removals, only 3 KOs for the Necro against 5 KOs and 3 injuries taken back from the Norse. But again, Norse had Mighty Blow piling. So not terribly unexpected there. It is Swiss, so it will rank stack. And yeah, there's only 10 of you, so... depending on how the matches go out, the middle's going to get really fuzzy because obviously everyone can't play the person they tied. But we did have 2 ties, so assuming it's flat Swiss, I expect it's going to be Puffins versus either Hellas Kitchen or Wrath of Nuppel. But we'll see. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, so 1 tile get rounded up and 1 tile get rounded down. Probably. That's what I would expect anyway. I don't know who that's going to be. Alright, well, Chaos is still dead. And
Hey, I'm back.
Oh, he's
Sorry.
not. He's alive.
Sorry about that.
We thought you died. We were preparing for a funeral.
Well, okay then. I am guessing you're about done talking about these teams, this game. So
Yep. I actually covered the next one as well, since
Okay.
you were out for a good 5 minutes.
that makes sense.
I think it's time to hit the button and see what Cyanide does with this weird Swiss knot.
Okay. Let's do it.
I have hit the button.
And there's definitely new matches. Let's see.
You should just be able to go to round 2 or day 2. There we go.
Okay, so the draws have not been matched against each other, because of course not.
Well, there were 3 wins, 3 losses, and 2 sets of draws. So one of the draws needed to be rounded up at the very minimum.
I think all of them got rounded. Primal.
No, Primal and the Exqueakables were teams that Jeruin played and didn't play. And then it looks like Meat Squad got rounded down and Thompson's got rounded up.
Okay. Correct you are. Okay then. So, Thunder's Buffins versus Hell's Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen's on the top of the brackets. I guess they're both on top of the bracket, aren't they? That's sort of the point.
Well, I mean, even on top of that, that's number 1 versus number 2 in the overall standing.
Yep, so whoever wins this match is probably going to win the whole division.
I would say that is quite likely, yes.
And I have no idea who won the first time around. I think it was the High Elves, actually. But you know what? I have no idea. So I might be completely wrong. Thompson's versus Wrath of Nuggle. I have no idea what Wrath of Nuggle looks like, but they won their game, and the Thompsons did not. So I think Wrath of Nuffle is going to be looking advantage here.
Yeah, it's a Chaos team with 1 block Warrior with a pending level, and then 3 block Beastmen, 11 players total. And that sitting at about 1160. Thompsons are out of Blitzer, but have 2 guard plus a block thrower and a 3 guard. So they picked up a guard line. So I actually think I might push this one slightly in the favor of Thompson's, just because of the skills that he's been able to build up against what is basically a fairly rookie Chaos team.
It does sort of sound like that to me as well, yeah.
Because this is a Chaos team that's still going to fear the 1-9 quite a bit. And there's enough guard on the human to be able to counteract the strength advantage.
And Chaos don't have very good inducements either. Okay, next is Exqueakables versus Primal Concrete Sludge. I want to say Exqueakables, who are in 3rd place right now. They definitely want the win. I don't think it... Well...
This is going to come down to the Movement 10 Gunners and whether or not the Exqueakables can stay on the pitch long enough.
If Exqueakable wins this game, then they have a chance to come in 1st place in the division.
Is that assuming a tie from the High Elves Norse game?
Well, let's see. Yes. If that game ties and the Exqueakables win, then the Exqueakables can... Actually, Spaceline still might be ahead in that scenario. Okay, you know what? There's a very small but possible scenario where the Exqueakables can get in 1st place. They have an in. That's all I'm saying.
To answer your question, Colin, the human TV is going to be, I think, 11-10 after Loners, so I think you're actually going to be giving up a babe in that because they're missing one of their developed blitzers.
Okay, next up is Wraith Reavers versus Meat Squad. I don't recognize Wraith Reavers either.
Yep, the Kislev team dropped, so we have 3 ramp-up coaches.
Okay, well, I don't... What? Okay, wait a second. Werewolves? Werewolves. Okay, I think They're playing against a developed Chaos team. I think the Chaos is going to have the advantage in this matchup.
Chorfs.
Is
This
it
is
Chorf?
Necro versus
God
Chorfs, yeah.
damn it. Look, it's been a long time, okay? Longer than it probably should have been, but, well, yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking at 1310 Chorfs with 3 guard blockers, an Agi 3 block bull, and a dodge break tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Versus 1120 Necro with basically just a full roster and no skills.
Mm-hmm.
12 players because they've got a ghoul. 2 rookie wolves with a little SPP sprinkled in, 2 rookie fleshies with a little SPP sprinkled in, and 2 rookie whites with a little SPP sprinkled.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I watched the Necro Norse game, which I was talking about when you weren't around, and I thought Necro played pretty well, all things considered. Made a couple of mistakes, but I mean, he played a Norse Norse team that was up 600 TV on him and only lost 1-0.
You make a compelling argument, but I still think that the advantage here is definitely for the Chaos Dwarves.
I think the real problem Chaos Dwarves might have is just getting bogged down and not being able to. They're going to have the guard and block advantage to be able to get some push, but they're still kind of slow. The big problem that Necro's going to have is what do they do about the bull with the ball, and they don't have a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to come down to taking some naked claw blitzes on some stuff and hoping that you're able to just naked remove some armor 7 equivalent, and then just bog everything down with zombies and hope for the best.
That's true. Claw is still Claw, so there's always the chance you'll get removals that way.
And I think Chorf's going to be trying to set up for frenzy traps as much as possible to prevent any meaningful claw hits. I think that's basically going to be the tail of.
They'll definitely take any hits on the werewolves that are given to them. Okay, last of all, we have Big Ma's Blitzers versus their Minerals Mary, which sounds like a Harry Potter team to me. And
no, it's actual minerals. Gypsum, muscovite, sodium, and so forth are the players.
Okay then.
But so their minerals is a 990 dwarf team missing a runner who took guard on a troll slayer and has a long beard level up pen.
Okay, well, the last time I saw the lizard team, which was a while ago, it was still missing development on its Saurus.
They've got 4 block Sauruses now. They bought another Crocs, so they've got a full
Okay.
team. So not terrible development. Lack of guard usually means that this is favoring the lizards a little bit, especially with enough block on their Saurus.
Okay, well, that's certainly what it sounds like to me. Dwarves, as is known, I'm a big fan of the dwarf inducements. I think we could some fun things could happen with them in this game, but it's hard to it's hard for dwarves to deal with block Saurus without any guard.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to, like, if dwarves can get a lucky Saurus removal early or something to help kind of force the skinks to be in play against all those tackle longbeards, I think that's how dwarves win this match. If the Saurus stay upright, I just don't see it, personally.
Okay, and so I think that's all the games. Is there anything else you want to look at before we go?
No, like I said, we went down all of the teams last week, so we'll probably go back into looking at teams next week. But
That
for
sounds
now, like I said, rollovers happened. If everybody gets their games played in, we'll do a similar thing next week
Yeah, that sounds
because it's fun.
That sounds good to me. I sincerely hope that I'm actually there for that.
Well, you're like one for the last 3 or 4 weeks, right? That's not terrible odds when you're looking at normal Blood Bowl things.
Well, I guess we'll see. Okay. So, that was this. We are done. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something.
One last note for y'all. Uh, they did get ReBBL.net working, so it is combining your round robin record with your Swiss record automatically.
Yay.
So if you head over to ReBBL.net, you'll be able to see the standings and the match history and everything works correctly. And if it doesn't, let us know, and we'll go kick Major Bite and see what he did wrong.
Oof, that's beautiful. Okay. Actually, I heard earlier that it wasn't working for the general stats were working, but you know, maybe the game stats. I'm not even sure. I might even be just completely wrong. Okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. Clearly, but anyway, I think we're done. So, goodbye, everyone. Good night. Bye.
See you all next week.